This is Tony from Cage Confessions, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Cage Warriors welterweight Joe Middleton. Joe, how are you?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks, mate. Just finished sparring, so yeah, feeling good.
Good, good. And the 27th of June is quickly approaching, which is scary because it's like halfway through the year, isn't it? But and obviously you're fighting at Cage Warriors 208 in London against Stephen Costello. How excited are you to get back in the cage?
Yeah, very excited. I feel quite accustomed to the Cage Warriors London events now. I've fought on a fair few of them.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it. Love the atmosphere, especially my last fight back in March. Really felt the energy from the crowd. I think it was quite an exciting fight. So yeah, looking forward to getting back out there quickly and sort of keeping my name relevant, which is what's important in the sport. So
Yeah, and I was going to ask that question actually. The Indigo must feel like a second home there for you because I think this will be the fourth time out. So it must be nice knowing your surroundings and even when you're getting into the arena, knowing where you've got to go. That must just be nice to not have to worry about that side of things.
yeah, 100%. It just makes things easier. My first fight for Cage Warriors was in Manchester,
Yeah,
which was great. It was a good experience, but it's just everything's so far away. You really are sort of not. You're nowhere near home. I don't live in London, but it's not
yeah,
too far from me, so I'm familiar with where things are. And when it comes to like rehydration and knowing where you can eat food that's not gonna
yeah.
upset your really sensitive stomach at that point and things like that, it does make a difference. And
Yeah.
just obviously making it easier for your sort of friends and family to travel to come and support you.
Yeah, I was going to say you must because are you Bournemouth way?
Eastbourne,
Eastbourne,
so
right? Okay,
we're
right.
sort of just along the coast from Bournemouth. Yeah, it's quite a small town. It's about probably an hour and a half away from sort of London.
Yeah,
But it is surprisingly a bit of a hub for MMA. It's just one of those towns that seem to sort of have a lot of people that brought, I don't know whether they moved down for like the beach or something, but
yeah, yeah,
we had
yeah.
people coming from further afield that, jiu-jitsu practitioners and things like that. And sort of, I've been around the sport a long time now, and the amount of gyms there are and experienced people that have fought at a good level in Eastbourne is pretty crazy. That being said, I still travel for my training a lot of the time, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so you've got it on your doorstep. It's always the way, isn't it? And then you end up, traveling out anyway, regardless. And obviously, this is a relatively quick turnaround for you. You was, as you
yeah.
mentioned, you was out in March and back again in June, which is great, and obviously means you didn't take any injuries in that last fight. So, how important do you feel like momentum is in the sport of MMA?
Yeah, I think it's massive. I mean, that's always the trade-off with MMA is it's pretty brutal,
Yeah,
when you're fighting in 4 ounce gloves, knees and elbows, it's very easy to pick up injuries or even like superficial injuries like cuts and things like that. So anytime you don't, it feels, I almost feel obligated to try and turn around quite quickly, especially like early. I'm still pretty early in my career. I
yeah,
feel like it's important to sort of build your record to a certain point. You know what I mean? You almost want to make it to 10 fights and then you've had 10 fights and this is your record, and you don't want long sort of drawn out gaps in between because things like one, you're only relevant for a short amount of time,
yeah.
and two, just sort of ring rust is 100% real. I mean, I fought in March, and before that I hadn't fought since July.
Yeah.
And it took me, I mean, although the fight was very quick, I felt very strange in there for the first sort of exchange because you're just not quite used to that intensity unless you've got it all the time. So I
Yeah,
like to stay busy if I can.
and there's obviously a level between training and I guess at training you guys are pushing yourself to the limit, but there's that extra switch
Yeah,
when it's in a real fight environment, isn't
it
it?
is, it
That's
is
yeah,
different no matter what anybody tells you. And obviously it's the part of the sport that everybody loves, but you could be sparring hard with someone extremely good. It's still not quite the same. Usually you're padded up, you've
Yeah,
got bigger gloves on, probably a head guard, and your partner's not trying to finish you in front of like 2,500 people. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah.
it is different when you're there live and it's it's real at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And touch wood, obviously, all things going well in this fight, and you get through this fight unscathed. Realistically, how many fights do you think you could get in by the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it always kind of, I'm looking at this one and then we'll go from there. But in my head, I'm thinking it would be nice to get two more in. So if I could get this and another one towards the end of the year, then I think I'd be quite happy with my activity, really.
Yeah,
Um, it would be three for the year. People have done more, but people have also done less. Like three is good, I think, a good number.
yeah. And how important is how, or not so much how important, but how much of a toll does the weight cut take into effect as well when you're deciding these sort of quick turnaround fights?
Yeah, I mean, so you need to be able to make the weight.
Yeah,
Obviously I used to fight at 84, which was quite well, it was too easy for me to make, which is why I
yeah,
made the decision to move down. And at middleweight, it was very easy for me. I could have taken fights on 2 weeks' notice and made the weight no problem.
yeah.
Um, Whereas now, I do need a bit of time to sort of diet down to a certain weight before I'm going to go and actually make the cut. So it's still doable. You just, it depends on the strictness and how much you sort of scale back your calories, really. But yeah, there is an element of needing a certain amount of time so that I can make it without
Yeah.
completely damaging my performance.
Yeah, and it must make up post fight the treats must taste a little bit sweeter, right? When you
Yeah, 100%. There's nothing like it. I mean, I guess if anybody's done like a fast or, you get people now that do like
72-hour
beyond, yeah,
fast
like
and stuff. Yeah,
72
yeah, yeah,
hours.
yeah, yeah,
And I've never done it, but I can imagine that that also is crazy. But when you've dehydrated yourself and pretty much sucked all the fluid out of your body to make the weight, genuinely, you could put a glass of something disgusting in front of me, and I think it would taste amazing. You're just so desperate to drink something. The
yeah.
taste of salt and sugar and everything, it's just, yeah, it's crazy. It's a nice experience in a way. It kind of makes it worth it in a weird sort of sadistic way.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
are you one of these who has like a dream meal to have post fight? Is there anything that sort of or you just anything and
Not
everything?
not particularly. I'm pretty regimented with like my like sort of like tracking my calories and macros and things. So
Yeah,
even when I'm dieting, I can have the odd day where I might be able to fit something in and I'm still in a diet, still in a calorie deficit. So it's more just sort of I think doing welterweight last time was the first time where a few weeks after the fight I felt like I actually couldn't stop eating.
right.
I've never really had that before, but it's a real thing where I was just almost just eating for the sake of it. I think where I was so hungry before.
Yeah,
So not necessarily like one meal in particular, but just
just
all the foods, you know what I
yeah,
mean? An
yeah, yeah.
abundance of food. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And circling back to the fight, obviously you're fighting Stephen Costello.
Hmm.
Just sort of keen to get your thoughts on what you know of Stephen, if anything, and what do you make of him as an opponent?
Yeah, look, he's a good level opponent from a good gym. He's from one of the SBG gyms in Ireland.
Yeah,
From what I've seen of him, I was loosely aware of who he was before. Obviously, he's fought in Bellator, and he's fought in Cage Warriors before. He's fought, is it Muzid, the Spanish welterweight? It's pretty good. So,
yeah,
it's like a good level fight for me. He's basically decently well-rounded, but mainly a striker, I think. And he's got muscles, is how I would explain it, basically. So fairly big for the division, but so am I, coming down from 84.
yeah.
So yeah, it should be a fun fight. The game plan doesn't really change very much for me anyway. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, and he's coming off a couple of, I think he's back-to-back losses. Do you feel like that makes him a bit more dangerous? You know, he's keen to kind of go out and prove something.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's hard to pay too much attention to that. I think it's very easy when you're sort of inexperienced or to look at someone's record and go, oh, that's not very good or this and that. But, it depends on the level of guys you fought. I mean, I just fought George McManus,
Yeah,
who people might look at his record and go, oh, it's not great. But the guys that have beat him, you're looking
yeah,
at
he's
like top,
been,
Ian
yeah,
Gary, who I train with, Oban Elliott, who's in the UFC, me now, so it's nice to be on that list.
yeah,
And I'm forgetting maybe one or two more, but they're like top level guys. You know what I mean? So just because someone's got a few losses on their record, I mean, I watched one of Stephen's fights. I think it might have been in Australia, and the guy he lost to is doing really well in the PFL now. So it's like it's not like
yeah,
he's losing to bums, you know what I mean? It's just the nature of the sport. Like I've
yeah,
lost, and the guy I lost to is like really good as well. So just
yeah.
the sport, you know.
And that was one of my later questions, just circling back to that loss, and that's the only loss on your pro career so far. What did you really sort of learn from that? People often say you learn more from a loss than you do when you
Yeah,
win. What did you learn from that?
but you're not a middleweight. No, but all joking aside, I mean, it went about as bad as it could go, that fight, really, for me. I mean, I guess I'll talk about it now because it's all in the past and it's, nearly a
Yeah,
year ago.
yeah,
So it doesn't really affect like moving forward. But Naglis landed an uppercut that basically fractured three bones in my face with one shot. So that people might have watched that and thought it was a bit of a weird stoppage, but I was pretty much fighting an uphill battle from then anyway. I couldn't feel the left side of my face. I hadn't If I touched my teeth after the fight, it literally felt like there was nothing there. um so I had some nerve damage and stuff. Like, it was a brutal shot that really, basically won him the fight, and it was pretty much the first clean punch he landed. So you can obviously, there's things to learn from that. He looked massive in there, and I thought, I had probably the easiest cut I'd ever had. I came in nearly on weight, and it was just an eye-opening experience that I'm not really an 84 guy, or 185, whatever you want to call it. Um, so that was when I made the decision to move down, and also just to play my game. Like, a lot went wrong in the build up to that. Not that it's an excuse, but I've always had the same cornermen in that particular fight. John Hathaway, my MMA coach, had surgery and wasn't able to be there.
yeah,
So things were just different, and that's fine. That's going to happen. That will probably happen in this fight also. That I may have a different corner, but you learn to sort of work with these things from experience, and I'd never experienced that before. I just didn't really play my game. I decided to go in there and duke it out with a very, very skilled kickboxer. He's had like three or four pro kickboxing fights since, and he's like obliterating other top kickboxers. So it just wasn't very smart on my part, but he got the finish and he's good. So good for him.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And obviously, you moved down a weight, and last time spectacular fashion with a Japanese necktie, which is an unusual submission, or
Mm.
say unusual. It's not very often that we get to see one. How good did it feel to not only win but win in such a spectacular fashion?
It literally couldn't have gone any better. Like, when I think about sort of what I was preparing to do in that fight, it was almost, to be perfectly honest, I didn't really follow the game plan. Like, everybody that had beat George up until that point had pretty much just beat him on the feet. He is a grappler. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. So am I. We exchanged a couple of punches, and I just thought, I'm going to take you down. I knew I was going to have to go through the fire. He had a really tight guillotine,
Yeah,
got out of that, and then, people will look at the triangle and go, whoa, that was tight. The triangle wasn't as tight as the guillotine. I
right.
managed to sort of bait him into taking my arm, knowing that he would attack that, and then I escaped the armbar. But that also, my arm was a bit sore for a few weeks after. And then that's just the thing is, it's an unusual submission, but not for me. Anything, any kind of Das, Anaconda, sort of like Quarter Nelson variation is my that
That's your bread and butter.
I
Yeah,
I believe, that everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and it depends what they are, as to how far you can take it. But in my opinion, if I can get into that position, I'm confident that I could finish almost anybody in the world. Like, I've always been good at that ever since I've started training, and it's now way past 10 years of sort of honing those techniques. So,
yeah,
yeah, I subbed a black belt. I'm the only one to sub George, who's a grappler, and it was great. And the crowd enjoyed it. I think the thing that made me the most happy about that fight was I got some real like traction afterwards. I picked up a ton of followers. People were like messaging me who I didn't even know. People in the crowd were like, "Oh, that was such a sick fight," and it was literally just a grappling match,
yeah,
basically. And like the stereotypical MMA fan wants to
yeah. Just
see
wants to
elbows,
see
knees,
knockouts
punches,
and
and I
blood.
was just
Yeah,
really happy that everyone seemed to really enjoy it. And it was effectively just a jiu-jitsu match with a couple of like punches and an elbow on the ground, which that's my thing now. Like, I will make you love jiu-jitsu and grappling.
yeah,
So
yeah. No,
yeah,
well, yeah, yeah. And I think you both proved that when it's done at the highest of levels, there is certainly entertainment to be had to it. And just thinking of that because and sort of tying that into records, people often sort of worry about records, worrying about not going, not losing, etc., etc. And you every single fight you've had so far in your pro career has not gone the distance. How much do you kind of weigh out the balance of the entertainment to sticking to not losing but potentially going down a bit more of a boring route per se?
it is definitely a balance.
Yeah,
You don't want to be that boring guy, especially if you're a grappler as well. It's very easy to like sort of
just yeah,
it's almost hard to make it exciting because the scrambles are what people likes, and that's when you're going to lose someone. They might get back up, you might get caught in something. So it's risky. It has to be exciting, but you kind of do have to win. I think it's like a balance. At the end of the day, the important thing is the win on your record,
yeah,
and when you're also not so much cage warriors, but when you're fighting for organizations that pay you a win bonus, which is effectively half of your money, in my opinion, it's your job. And the most important thing is to make as much money as you can. So if it sucks,
yeah,
sorry guys, but that's the way it goes. Um, but eh, if you want to be popular and you want organizations to take notice of you and people to actually like you, then you have kind of got to be exciting as well. It's a balance. You high level MMA is exciting when it's done properly,
mm,
regardless. Like, I one of my favorites of all time is Khabib Nurmagomedov.
yeah,
And you get all the trolling online, and people used to say, "Oh, it's so boring," but it really wasn't. Like, if you enjoy grappling, or if you were a grappler, watching that was just the same with Chimaev. Maybe not the last fight, but
yeah,
it's just outrageous to watch how good they are at that the control, the transitions. Like, I think maybe with striking, everyone can watch punching and go, "Oh, that was crazy." With grappling, it's a little bit more nuanced. Like, what you're watching when you do it, and you can
yeah.
appreciate how crazy things are. But maybe otherwise, it just looks like guys sort of rolling around and someone gets up or gets submitted. So
Yeah, I think
it's
that's the
it's
difference
the
is yeah,
nature of the
because
sport.
striking might be crazy, but when you guys are watching it, you might be thinking, actually, technically, that's terrible
Sloppy.
because it's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it's true. Like,
yeah,
far be it from me to be the one to say this because he's obviously elite. But Justin Gaethje, for a long time, I think, was
yeah,
making the mistake of just trying to be exciting and making a ton of like sloppy mistakes that he probably wouldn't make in the gym,
yeah,
where he would get caught. And it was so exciting. And fair enough, he won a load of bonuses and he finished people, and it doesn't matter. But that wasn't technically the most proficient
sure,
boxing, you know what I
yeah,
mean? But
yeah,
people love
yeah.
it because it's so back and forth. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
and speaking of entertaining, those shorts you had on were pretty were pretty cool. What's the story behind those?
So Moose rash guards, or actually, sorry, Moose fight wear now. They were previously Moose Rash Guards. They're one of my sponsors, so it's my friend Amos actually. He's doing really well. I mean, he started this company with, making some sort of funny rash guards and funky shorts. And he said he wanted to sponsor me, so I've been wearing his brand from the start. And he's got some good guys now. He's sort of really tried to put it out there. I think like Gerald Mearshart in the States is wearing a load of the stuff.
Right.
There's more people. You see it pop up every now and again that, some UFC guys got this rash guard on. So he always makes my custom shorts, and I think the money print ones are quite popular. So
Yeah.
I lost to Naglis in those, and
Right.
then I was gonna wear another pair, but my opponent George also had a black pair, so they kind of came to me and said, "Do you want to flip a coin, or do you want to just wear your other pair?" So I ended up wearing the money pair again and got the win. So it was
You've
worth it.
broken the curse. So are
Yeah,
we
that's it.
expecting to see them again in a few weeks' time?
No, I think well, hopefully I'll be able to wear the other pair, but you have to provide two pairs with Cage Warriors because I don't think they like you wearing the same color as your opponent.
Yeah.
So I had a very tough weight cut and I was very late to the scale. And that happens to be when you put in your choice of color. So I'd been beat by George already. So this time I must get there quicker
Yes, indeed.
to put my suggestion forward.
And I guess just touching on the weight cut, now you've been through it at welterweight, you would have learned, what went well and what didn't go so well last time round.
Mm.
So, this next time should be smoother. Was there anything in particular that sort of made that a more difficult weight cut, or was it the fact that it was just a completely
Yeah,
different
no,
weight cut
there
at
was.
15
So
pounds?
I do all my weight cuts myself. I was a PT and I understand nutrition, and that's not me, you know, listen, I probably will enlist the help of someone soon
Yeah,
just to take the stress away from it more than anything else.
yeah,
Because when you're training and you're depleted, you tend to sort of give yourself a little bit more than maybe you should. And I think that's what happened. I'd had such easy cuts to 84. And for whatever reason, last time the weight just wasn't really coming off. I think it could have been a lack of sleep and down to sort of lifestyle things that were happening. And I came in way too heavy the night before, and I got I lost a lot of weight. I mean, to be quite honest, a very unsafe amount to sort of dehydrate down to, and I'll never do that much again. And it was crazy. I proved to myself that I can get through that because it was miserable. But this time I've been more sensible. I've approached it the same as last time, like I'm not going to lose the weight. So I've just dropped my calories and now the
yeah.
weight's just falling off me. So I can probably eat a bit more, to be honest. I'm going to come in quite light this time and I should have no problems making it. So
Excellent.
yeah,
Good to hear. And you touched on earlier, you've got John Hathaway in your corner, obviously UK MMA legend in himself. That
yeah,
must be nice having someone who's gone through, got to the highest of levels and just learning from him sort of so early on in
yeah.
your career must be a blessing.
Yeah, it is. I sort of, so when I was first around the sport, John was in the UFC making waves. I think he just beat sort of Diego Sanchez, and
Yeah,
um, I remember I met him at like I had there used to be this sort of like this was before amateur MMA was recorded properly, and
yeah,
a gym that he initially trained at before moving to shoot fighters used to have this massive sort of like inter club, but it was crazy. Like everyone was around the cage, wars in the cage, like it was
yeah.
unreal.
Fights before the
Uh,
fights almost, yeah.
yeah, so I'd fought on that and met him there. And then sort of we knew each other. I used to speak to him a bit if I ever saw him at like shows and stuff. And then a few like years went by because I had like a few injuries I had to get fixed and things like that. And then when I sort of got back into the sport, I realized that he was teaching and had a gym, and I just drove there and started training with him because he's just like in the area of Eastbourne is part of Sussex.
Yeah, because I was
He
going to
is,
say it was sort of was he Brighton
he,
sort of way, wasn't
yeah.
he? Yeah,
So
yeah,
Brighton, Eastbourne, it's all Sussex.
yeah, yeah,
He is
yeah,
without a doubt the top guy in Sussex. Like
Yeah,
the level he got to, his skill. I mean, his record speaks for itself. So yeah, to train with someone like that is crazy. And now we're friends. Like, you know, I've known him for years and years and years. So it's
yeah,
always nice to have him in my corner. Yeah, it just puts me at ease. Really, I don't know. You know, it's at the end of the day, I'm the one fighting, but I think
yeah.
it's just, when you know you've got someone that actually is looking out for you and trains with you a lot and knows what you can do, it definitely makes a difference.
And how's John getting on with his health? I know he had some health issues, didn't he? Is he okay
Yeah,
now?
he's been through a lot. I think, it's hard to sort of pry the
Yeah,
whole
too
truth
much.
out of him
Yeah,
because he's
yeah,
such a positive guy and I respect it. I think he's a lot better now. He had a couple of procedures recently that was, fingers crossed, supposed to make things a lot better. And I think he's sort of, living all right at the moment. I
good,
think he's
good.
doing pretty well. I mean, he's still an absolute menace on the mats. Strong and big again now. He's put on a bit of weight recently, like in a good way. So must mean he's eating well. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's doing all right. He seems
Oh,
to be in a decent place at the moment. So hopefully you know,
yeah.
that's it for him now.
Oh,
Yeah.
good, good, good. And just touching on the welterweight division within Cage Warriors, obviously there was due to be a welterweight unification bout in April in Scotland. As someone who's kind of looking up at the division and appreciate you're still, this will be your second fight at welterweight. Do you feel that the sort of hold up at the top might have a big impact on the division itself, or do you think by the time that you're kind of getting up there, things would have, seen themselves through and
I think that fight's quite important and everything will just play out from that. I think, you know, most likely Sean Clancy is not going to be around in Cage Warriors much longer. I think I would be surprised if he wins that and doesn't go directly to the UFC, but I mean, you never know.
yeah,
Um, and I'm not sure what that would mean for Justin at that point if he were to lose that fight. Obviously, I think if he wins, then he'd probably be on his way as well.
yeah,
They're probably the best two guys in the division. So if one leaves, I would expect the other one to then just fight for the belt again.
yeah,
If they both leave, I think the division's wide open at that point because there's there's probably like a handful of guys you could consider like in contention, but like a big win for me could really sort of thrust me into that conversation. I mean, that's sort of how
yeah,
it feels to me from what I've been told. So one step at a time,
yeah.
I think at middleweight, when I fought Naglis, I knew that if I beat Naglis, I was going to fight for the belt. That was pretty much, that's why I took that fight. It would have put
Right.
me right in the conversation. He was coming off a very close split decision loss for the belt.
Yeah.
And the division was a little bit up in the air anyway, because I think Dario was sort of trying to get signed. So I knew that if I had have won that, I would have fought Dario for the belt. Obviously, unfortunately, I didn't win it. I ended up, and then, uh, consequentially, or
Yeah.
not
Sounds.
sure if that's the
Yeah.
word
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
looking for
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But obviously, Dario then fought, and I've drawn a blank, Irish fella that beat him for the belt recently. So, and I'm in a new division now, so things change very quickly. Paddy McCory, sorry.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
things
Yeah. Sorry,
so
you beat me
things
to it. I was trying
change.
to quickly find in the
Yeah,
background.
things change very quickly, and that happens to be the case in Cage Warriors because guys are getting signed left and right. So,
Yeah.
uh, one of my teammates, Nick Bagley from GB Top Team, is the featherweight champion. If he wins this fight, he may get signed, and then
Yeah.
who's going to be featherweight champion?
Yeah.
So it happens pretty quickly, you know what I mean? Which is good in a way. It gives everybody an opportunity. I think it will be interesting, yeah, to see what's next after this. But again, just taking it one
Yeah.
fight at a time.
Absolutely. And what are last couple of questions because I appreciate your time. What are
No.
your ultimate goals in MMA?
Uh, that's a good question. So I love the sport. It's always been my passion. I've been doing this in some way, or I've been around the sport since I was a young, very young teenager, and I just love being around the sport, being involved in the lifestyle. Um, I'm not one of those. I'm not 21 and I'm not a guy going, I just want to get to the UFC and nothing else matters.
Yeah,
I have a wife and a 2.5-year-old daughter. I've got a mortgage and I also have a job. Um, I would love to take this as far as I can. And after that last fight, it certainly feels like things were moving in a very nice direction. But
yeah,
like anything, you're only as good as your last fight. So just keep winning and kind of see what happens. I, famous last words really, but I feel like I could be on the cusp of something quite nice here. So obviously the UFC is like the ultimate goal for everybody, but I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket because
yeah,
if I don't get there,
yeah. So
like
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't my,
There's
it wasn't my number one goal. I think these days that's like a super uh of course like the dream but also like a massive risk. I mean, you're basically at that point, whether you were or not before, you are full time and fighting
yeah,
the best in the world, and you may not uh reap some of the rewards you would expect to until later in a maybe another contract. So it is
sure.
risky stuff. Whereas I would just like to, like I said, take it as far as I can. If I can win a Cage Warriors belt, awesome. If that takes me on to bigger shows, and there's only a few really, so
Yeah.
then awesome. But for me, just enjoying every day that I get to do this, and at the moment seem to be managing to balance or spin all these plates
Yeah,
without
dropping
upsetting anybody.
yeah,
So just happy.
yeah. But
Yeah,
ultimately keeping your wife happy, yeah, is what you wanted to say,
exactly,
yeah.
which is very important. Yeah, yeah,
In almost the most important, yeah, definitely.
yeah, yeah,
And final question then, Joe, for anyone who's not seen Joe Middleton fight before and they're tuning in for the first time on June 27th at Cage Warriors
yeah.
208, what can they expect?
You can expect a fun fucking fight because if you're looking at my record, I'm either going to finish the guy or get finished. No, I'm just joking. Uh, Probably a nice submission victory. I'm not going to just circle around the cage and throw a jab for 3 rounds. So you'll be entertained. If the last fight's anything to go by, you'll be very impressed, hopefully, and you'll enjoy watching me one way or another.